It's time for us to put beside our differences and rally behind our nominee. Because at the end of the day, LGBT Americans will be better off with Donald Trump as president. Americans in general will be better off with Donald Trump as president.
That's Chris Barron. He once led a gay conservative group that is now defunct, and he was also at one point in time a critic of Donald Trump, but he is now mobilizing a coalition of LGBT voters in support of the GOP nominee. To talk about how that vote will play into this year's election, we're pleased to be joined by telephone from St. Louis by Jim Hoft, the founder of GatewayPundit.com. He's a noted conservative blogger and investigative reporter, and via Skype, televisioning, of course, the host of this program, Steve Malzberg. Jim, we know the Democrats are fussing and fighting this week, but let me preface this, and since I can see Steve right here beside me. Steve, we heard Tom DeLay earlier express some concerns about what went on at the convention last week in terms of the LGBT community. And yet, one of the lessons I learned from Tom DeLay in the House was you got to grow the vote. Politics is the art of addition.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people are looking to look for reasons not to support Donald Trump. And of course, I want to say hello to Jim Hoft, whose great site breaks so many wonderful stories. And also Jim came out as gay. He did it partially on my show. He also did it in his own blog, of course, on the Gateway Pundit. So, Jim, what was your take when Peter Thiel went up there at the Republican convention last week and said, "I'm proud, I'm gay, I'm a Republican, and vote for Donald Trump"?
That was a historic moment, wasn't it? I thought it was amazing. But I thought what was more amazing was that the crowd, the way they cheered him and gave him a standing ovation.
Well, you know, why don't we go back to that moment on the convention floor and listen to it just because of its historical and perhaps its political significance. Here it is from last week's Republican convention.
I am proud to be gay. I am proud to be a Republican. But most of all, I am proud to be an American.
Jim, as we address this, I can't help but think back to my days in Congress when the question about same-sex marriage came up, and I remember doing a cable television debate with the gentleman who was then executive director of Log Cabin Republicans, and we debated vociferously about that topic, and yet when it came to border security and getting tough on illegal immigration, the gentleman from the Log Cabin Republicans was lined up with me 100%. I think at times people believe in the myth of a monolith. Whether it's sexual identity or something else, they figure if somebody's this way, they're going to just be Democrats, and it's just not the case.
Absolutely. And I think what got a lot more conservatives involved from the gay community was after this attack in Orlando, when there's 49 dead people on the floor, gays, on a dance floor, and the Democrats, and rather than changing their policy, they're doubling down on this political correctness, which should scare the hell out of any of Americans. These people would rather put political correctness in front of the lives of Americans and this threat that we're under. So I think this is a great year for conservatives to capture much more of the gay vote, and I hope that they understand that it's very possible for them this year.
And Jim, I didn't hear much at the convention from Trump. I think he should have brought it up in his speech. But, you know, these gay groups that say they speak for gays in this country, to me, much like the Al Sharptons of the world, they don't. And to JD's point, there's no monolithic viewpoint or way of thinking. And the fact that Hillary takes money from countries. I mean, if Donald Trump did this, forget it. Takes money from countries that kill gays, stone gays, throw gays off roofs, and nobody really, even, I'm sorry to say, Donald Trump doesn't really talk about that. Isn't that a huge issue, especially within the average gay community?
It should be. And again, though, guys, I don't think the average gay American understands that that's what's happening. And so it is up to the Republicans, the Trump campaign, and gay conservatives to spread the word on this. Hillary's awful for gays. She's done nothing. Trump, on the other hand, has always been pretty open to the gay community. He was given, benefits to gay couples several years ago, and he spoke out against the Clinton policies back in the 90s. Trump is, as Milo Yiannopoulos says, is the most gay-friendly candidate in the history of American politics. So I don't know if that's accurate, but he certainly is a much better candidate than Hillary.
Well, Jim, and I want to share Steve's praise of GatewayPundit.com because I really enjoy reading both your commentary and your reporting. And just to complete the record, Steve, I think, and we have a screenshot right now of Gateway Pundit up right there, and we know you guys have been taking a close look at the WikiLeaks documents. Just a friendly amendment to what Steve was lamenting earlier. Steve, it is true that Donald Trump, for an hour and 15 minutes, maybe longer in that acceptance speech, he did at one point reference, as he called it, the LGBTQ community, and he also thanked the convention goers for their reception of Peter Thiel. So Donald Trump was covering a lot of ground in that speech, and he certainly at least offered some rhetorical, I guess we'd say, some rhetorical ratification, if you will, of the presence of Peter Thiel at the convention. So, Jim, what are you working on now? What are you hearing from the Democrats and all these emails on WikiLeaks? And more importantly, what can we expect next?
Well, the rumor is that there's more emails to be released, and I hope it's Thursday before Hillary's speech that we see the next batch. Julian Assange today gave his first interview on Democracy Now!, the communist channel, and he was bashing Hillary Clinton. So he's no fan of Hillary and her corruption, and it would be just epic if the next batch is released Thursday before Hillary's speech.
It would, and Jim, the Hillary people in the media is saying, well, Russia's behind this. Maybe Putin wants Trump to win. But now it turns out the FBI warned the DNC about all this and the hacking and whatnot about a year ago. So they were doing this before Donald Trump, almost when he first started. So to say that Putin wants Trump to win is just ridiculous. And again, it misses the point. It deflects. Because what's in those emails, if this was Donald Trump's emails and they talked about Jewish people, I mean, look what they did to him over that sheriff star that they claimed was a Star of David and he was an anti-Semite. Here you have the CFO, who's still the CFO, talking about atheism and Judaism and whatnot, and he's still employed.
Right, and they were bashing Hispanics, and they were making fun of black names, and they were even making fun of this black gay donor because he only gave $5,000 and he was too much of a prima donna for them. So in high maintenance. So they're littered with this filthy language from these Democrats, and they just came out at a very inopportune time for them, and they're going to feel it all week, I believe.
Yeah, and what went on with the Latinos? What do they say, quote, taco bowl community or something like that? Hey, I want to return, because Steve brought it up, this whole thing about the Russians. The spinning, they were going like a million gyroscopes today in Philadelphia, trying to put this off on the Russians. But Jim, seems to me, and we've got about a minute left, by the way, you can't have it both ways. You can't say about Hillary's official emails that she was cooking up at home on that server, oh, that didn't get in the hands of anybody, but then paradoxically say about this political stuff, oh, it was the Russians who did this. I mean, are they just desperate or what?
They're definitely desperate, and they're just throwing mud at the wall, hoping something sticks. But so much for that reset button that Hillary pushed with the Russian ambassador, the defense minister there. It's fallen apart.
Well, and we will see if not only that reset button, but the Democrat convention falls apart. Although, Steve Malzberg, with about 30 seconds left, you and I have covered these guys so long, and I've fought with them on both sides of it, both in politics on the House floor and then behind an anchor desk. Boy, they will come out. You know, the New York Times and the Alphabet networks will try to find a cover story for Hillary and the Dems this week.
Absolutely. They've started already. And I tuned into CNN early this morning, and the headline was, is Donald Trump a racist? I said, wait, what happened to the DNC story? And they had Christoph on talking about his piece, is Donald Trump a racist? And of course, the conclusion was yes. So,
Flip over all the cards. You knew that's where they were going to go. Hey, again, a shout out to Jim Hoft, founder and great reporter. The website again, gatewaypundit.com. Now, Steve and I are going to be back, and when we come back, author and New York Times columnist Naomi Schaefer Riley will be here to talk about Washington and the D.C. establishment destroying American Indians. That's next.